I can't believe it. All my friends are dead.
I can't believe it either, Curb.
Bowser? I thought you died.
What? No, I didn't. Oh, wait. I did die.
So, wanna do a commentary to help with the trauma?
Yes.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light.
So, Nihilistic Snake. He's pretty infamous within the CC for making commentaries that are, to put it nicely, not very good. One of his more recent commentaries being on a channel known as The Gamer, that's pretty much Watts Mojo, but more focused on games. And his commentary on their list, 10 bosses so impossibly hard they ruin the game, fancy way of saying cheapest boss fights, further supports my theory that for a commentary on The Gamer to be good, it needs to have silver in it.
By the way, I decided to re-edit Snake's video. Not because the visuals of the original video was bad or anything. I just wanted to change it into something more appropriate and memeable. Mostly memeable. So enjoy!
A boss fight should be a test of skill if all you've learned to the test against the toughest foe you've encountered in the level thus far. But sometimes it's downright unfair. There are some bosses that simply have no regard for human life and will have you screaming at your television screen. God, it's just too boring, I give up! Before we begin, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our content and ring that bell to become part of our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are 10 bosses so hard you ruin the game. Galactus, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Wow, that wording sucked. He is in the normal version of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate.
I sure am glad Snake played the entirety of Gamer's introduction, only to not criticize anything in it and waste our time. Like, I get you made a joke at the beginning of it, but that doesn't excuse how you let the rest of it play out when you could have easily skipped it.
And for the record, this happens multiple times throughout Snake's commentary, where he lets the footage drag out needlessly despite having nothing to say for most of it. Snake, you saw that you can cut out parts of the video, so why does irrelevant footage come up so often?
The Bible. This is the Bible.
We're going to be seeing a lot of fighting games on this list, so get prepared.
I will bring this up in my final thoughts, cause it's gonna be important later.
Oh, that should be fun.
For some reason or another, the developers of fighting games just love to stick some insanely difficult bosses into their games. Thanks, guys. Real nice.
That's done as a test of skill and to add to the illusion that you're becoming a world-class fighter like in action movies. Besides, fighting games can get incredibly repetitive, so why not have something intense to spice up the gameplay?
The problem wasn't that it gave a challenge, though. The problem was that the bosses were difficult to an unfair degree. When a boss fight, or any part of the game, goes too extreme with its difficulty, one can easily feel that it comes off as cheap rather than a legitimate challenge, and as a result, feel frustrated.
The way you worded this, it sounds like you're saying as long as they're giving you a challenge, then everything is fine. Which, no, it really isn't. Like, imagine if I told Kirby that he had to vor every Waddle Dee in existence in under 10 minutes or he'll die or something. Yes, I'm giving him a challenge, but that doesn't mean it can't be seen as unfair and that Kirby can't complain about it. Even if you want to say that's the point, that wouldn't change anything. Just because it's supposed to be unfair, that doesn't mean we like it.
Done!
I'm sorry, what?
I ate every Waddle Dee in existence. Way less than 10 minutes, too.
Kirby, I was using that as an example. You weren't actually supposed to vor every Waddle Dee in existence.
Oh.
Wait, does this mean you also vored Good Boy Bandana D as well?
Even then, fighting games aren't the only ones that do this. Minor reminds everyone about Guitar Hero 3's Through the Fire and Flames.
Okay, wow. Not only do you completely miss the point about how they were saying fighting games do this incredibly often, not implying that other game genres don't throw challenging bosses at the player, but you use an example that isn't even a boss fight. Great job, Snake!
When we talk about cheap bosses, you have to mention Galactus from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He is a gigantic planet-eating being, which, honestly, would be a difficult boss to defeat, but it's a little too difficult. It's flat out unfair. He takes up pretty much the entire screen, has a non-stop laser beam barrage, which is impossible to avoid, and some downright confusing attacks. Your entire screen can often be covered in laser and plasma, or whatever Galactus can emit from his fingers.
What is that stuff anyways?
1. That's the power Chasmic, which is basically Galactus' life essence. 2. Galactus is nowhere near as difficult as you're making him out to be, not even in the highest difficulty setting. Sure, he takes up most of the screen, but you can knock him backwards if you attack him enough. For his energy attacks, Black can use Advancing Guard. He'll still cast damage, but it's better than just letting yourself get annihilated because you don't know what the fuck you're doing, which, judging from the footage you're using here, seems to be the case.
Okay, you say that they can advance guard to reduce the damage of Galactus' laser attack, but gamers' complaint was that the attack was unavoidable, so the existence of advance guarding wouldn't really hurt their statement. Hell, it actually strengthens their statement, since even with advance guarding reducing damage, which by the way, some players might not even be able to pull it off easily or consistently, you're still going to take damage. And since you can't avoid the attack, that means this is damage you have no way of avoiding. And if Galactus decides to use this attack often, yeah, that's pretty goddamn cheap.
And as for the point about how it looks like they don't know what they're doing from the footage, no, I'd say it looks like they know exactly what they're doing. Because they're playing as Galactus, as evident by the Attack the Earth. This footage is from Galactus mode, where you play as Galactus and fight 3 random fighters. It's not the player's fault that they're standing around doing nothing, that's the fault of the AI. Now, to get on the gamer's case for a bit, did you really think that this would be the best footage to show Galactus as a cheap boss? Fighting against computer players that don't even bother to get out of the way or fight back?
Back to covering Snake, however, if it was the case that the player was controlling the character and was sucking badly, who says it's actually the gamer? As in the channel. For all we know, they could have taken someone else's footage. And I guess we can criticize them for using footage of someone sucking, as it could give viewers a false impression about the fight, and possibly give us a reason to take them less seriously, but that wouldn't get rid of the issue that you're assuming whose footage it is.
You question the words of the mighty Jimmy?
And if this fight wasn't hard enough already, he has the power to use applause as a weapon.
I beg your pardon? I've played this fight several times and I don't know what you're talking about. There is no fucking applause-like attack or applause weapon he uses. Make sure to double check what the fucking boss's moves are in the game before making a point about them.
Evidently, you need to fight the boss one more time, Snake, because Galactus actually does have a move similar to applause. Remember that clasping hands attack from earlier? Well, guess how Galactus grabs the fighter in his hand to begin with? By clapping his hands together on them. That's the applause the guy is referring to. Now, the gamer definitely should have shown footage of the clap attack, but contrary to what you say, Galactus actually has an attack similar to applauding.
The Bible. This is the Bible.
Capra Demon, Dark Souls. The Dark Souls series is known for their difficult but fair bosses. The game is all about learning the mechanics and getting better with every attempt to get through the level. Makes sense. You must have a never-give-up attitude if you want to be a Dark Souls master. Sadly, there's one boss who's made plenty of players hang up the controller for good.
That's it, I quit! Hate this!
The Capra Demon is one of the most blatantly unfair bosses from the original. Pretty much everything about this battle is done to cheat the player out of a victory. It's like everything you knew about boss fights are just thrown out the window. The developers should honestly be ashamed of the Capra Demon's inclusion. Shame. Shame! The second you walk through the fog, the Capra Demon and his 2 dogs will attack you instantly. With so many enemies flying at you and so little space to maneuver, one wrong move can be your undoing.
You know you can just dash forward while the demon charges up its attack, right? You have a clear opening ahead, and yet you're sitting here that there's absolutely nothing you can do right out the gate.
I call BS. They're putting a lot of emphasis on the initial charge, sure, but in no way are they saying there's nothing you can do about it. At most, they say one wrong move and you're dead. That's not saying you can't do anything about it, just if you screw up, well, you're screwed. Simple as that.
On top of that, where do you see a barrage of enemies coming at you? The only enemy that really charges at you in the beginning is the Capra Demon himself. Yeah, there are 2 dogs, but that's not really a barrage of enemies.
Hey Bowser, did you ever hear the word barrage leave the gamer's mouth?
Not really, Curbs. All Gamer said was there are so many enemies coming at you. Which, yeah, while it's only 3, with the type of game Dark Souls is where almost everything can kill you in 2 or 3 hits, 3 enemies can be seen as a lot to deal with, especially since one of them is a boss, and with the small area to navigate around that was mentioned previously.
And as for your point about only the Capra Demon charges at you, I'm calling bullshit on that, Snake. In the footage shown within your own video, we see one of the dogs charge at the player alongside the Capra Demon, attacking at the same time.
Seriously, the area is so small, the camera even glitches sometimes and shows you nothing of your field of view. To make matters worse, the Capra Demon comes back as a regular enemy, but luckily with much less health and much more room to maneuver. One tip we have to beat this demon is to use the stairs to your advantage. You can thank us later for that little tidbit of knowledge.
So you know how to beat the Capra Demon and even admit yourself that it comes later in the game, but in a different battlefield, making it slightly easier to beat. Yet you're giving him a higher spat on this list than Galactus, despite him being almost impassable to beat according to you. Yeah, buddy, there's this thing called revising. I think you should try it sometime.
So your first reason about how they mention how Capra Demon comes later but is easier kinda sucks. Because while later fights with it may be easier, that wouldn't change how gamers sees the first encounter to be cheap and unfair, and was what got it on the list in the first place. Not to mention, they say the later encounters with the Capra Demon is as a regular enemy, not as bosses. Meaning the later encounters wouldn't qualify for the list since this is a list about bosses. And they're not bosses, unlike the first encounter. Now maybe I could get behind this point if you showed that the later encounters affect the placement of the boss, like using the admittedly awkward placement and some of the wording choices, but obviously you don't. Making this trying to use something that could very likely just be a side note that doesn't affect the entry to complain about why Capra Demon is higher than Galactus, when they said Galactus is almost impossible to beat. Which, by the way, no, they never did so. So even if you were right about the later encounters affecting the placement, the foundation of your point would have made it wrong from the word go. Unless it was an implication, and if that's what you meant, try being more clear about that, and maybe go into more detail, as not everyone watching your video might have picked up on the implication, as it's not entirely obvious like if they flat out said it.
And as for your overall point about how it should be ranked lower than Galactus, question: where did they imply that they were ranking these entries? As I said in my commentary on Henry, the game never refers to this list as a countdown, there's no top in the title, and there's no numbers during the transitions. You know, signs that they would actually be ranking these entries. It's possible to list things without necessarily ranking them from lowest to highest, my dude.
Well, to be fair, he does give a reason for why he believes the entries were meant to be ranked later on.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get to that when the time comes.
You question the words of the mighty Jimmy?
Honestly, the merciless beatings this guy dishes out are out of this world. You better become a Mortal Kombat master because this guy gives boots to butts all day long. Shao Kahn must be a mind reader because it's like he knows all your moves before they even happen. The only weakness he has is when he's taunting you. Cockiness is the downfall of many men, and Shao Kahn is no exception. If you can land a swift combo each time he taunts and avoid some of his deadly attacks, you can defeat this guy. When he laughs about your lack of skill, that's your time to strike and make him eat his words. When a boss is not only unfair, but also laughs at your ability, that's just a low blow to gamers.
Even though you said it's a big weak spot to go and attack him, so it's not as much of a low blow as you're letting on. Also, in the context of a fighting game, wouldn't his constant jeers give you more of a motivation to kick Shao Kahn's ass? I mean, in a real fight, if someone is laughing at you within punches, then seize the opportunity. Make him eat his words. Before you say I'm looking too deep into this, I started it.
Okay, yeah, they mentioned how it's a weak spot, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't feel like a low blow, Snake. If you're getting your ass kicked in the fight and get mocked as it happens, it's kinda a no-brainer that one would feel worse about it. Sure, it's a motivator, but it's also frustrating and upsetting, hence why it's a low blow. Not to mention how, considering that the gamer mentioned how difficult Shao Kahn is as a boss, by the way, nice job to the editor of the gamer for only showing footage where you play as Shao Kahn, it'd still be possible that he beats you even after mocking you, which would make it even more of a downer. Ow! What the hell was that for?
It's motivation, so you can't get mad at me, Kirby.
It's no surprise Shao Kahn is one of the most disliked characters in Mortal Kombat history. He deserves it.
Yeah, I do believe Mocap holds that title, thank you very much.
He said one of, Henry.